welcome to a little holiday greeting episode of Level. I host the show. I'm Emily Reese, and Sam Keenan produces the show. Hello, Sam.
Hello, hello.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
I'm slowly making my transition back into a human because as you know, I mean, don't tell, but I'm Santa Claus, so
yeah.
my beard's getting darker again, and I'm wearing
Yep.
the blue just to hide my identity while I get back to normal.
Yeah. Do the little kids, because you have so many nieces and nephews, do the little kids get confused? Like, do they say anything? Does anyone tease you about it in front of them?
No,
No. Okay.
no, they don't know that I'm Santa, but
Good
I
Lord.
keep that a secret.
Anyway, Level is a podcast where we interview composers and other people in video games who make audio for them. And we wanted to just chat super quickly, as you know, to not be completely boring, about some of our favorite moments from, or maybe favorite episodes over the last year. And my list is so long that I'm basically just going to read it. But you go first, if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind.
I just going through the past year of episodes. My list. I mean, we could have just gone through every episode basically,
Yeah,
but I kind of boiled it down to a few. But we did 40 episodes this past year, which is a lot.
really.
And
I would have
yeah,
thought we did more than that.
40 was the number, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, and it was just a lot of really great stuff and amazing people and very, you know, different kinds of approaches to music and
Hmm.
also the occasional non-musicians that we have on and stuff like that, sound designers and like voice actors and things.
Yep.
um
Some of whom are musicians, to be fair, but yeah.
that too, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
But just scanning the list, I jotted down some of them that just like stuck out to me as ones that I remember liking, particularly the music from.
Yeah.
And the first one was Ego Plum
Oh,
and
yeah.
Cuphead.
Cuphead, the Netflix series. Yes.
Yeah, which is a little different than usual because it's
Yep.
not a game, but Cuphead is obviously a game. But yeah,
Yes.
but he did the music for the cartoon, and it's
Hmm.
just wonderful, very up my alley kind of fun timey old jazz,
Yep.
silly cartoon style jazz stuff, and that was a really fun episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
you remember
Yeah.
that one?
Oh, well, yeah, and it's the second time that we've had him on to talk about
Right,
Cuphead,
right.
because the first time we talked to him, I think we only talked about series one, because I think that's the only season they had at the time, and it was shortly after that conversation that Netflix announced at least two more seasons. And so when I talked to him the second time, I think I talked to him about both seasons. And the best thing about Cuphead, the series, is, first of all, it's really good, just as people who grew up on Looney Tunes and some of the stuff that's, in hindsight, maybe not so great now, but there are great elements from it. And Cuphead took all of those things and made some, in its own way, right? So
Hmm.
it's such a great show too. And so because it's a cartoon for kids, you can get through the episodes super quick and you can get through the season super quickly. So it was just really uh, a different approach to an interview than I usually have, right? Because I got to sit and watch this great Netflix show and make notes about the crazy, wonderful music in the background, which also is such a different way to create music. I mean, the music operates similarly, of course, but it just functions differently in a lot of ways too. So it
Hmm.
was fun. Yeah. So yes, I remember that episode. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Should we take turns or I don't know.
You can keep going, because I'm
Okay.
probably just gonna blast through my list, because it's
Okay.
just obnoxious,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which is kind of the point. But I just want to just say a couple things about each one and
Okay.
encourage folks to listen to some of these, because I think people sometimes skip episodes and stuff, and it's just, you got to listen to them all. They're so good. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, the
yeah,
next one I had written down, episode 211, was good old Gary Shyman,
yeah,
music for Spoken.
yes,
And Gary Scheinman's just a class act and an
Oh,
amazing composer, and the music for that is just epically beautiful and good,
yeah.
and just like really orchestral in the, I mean, I hesitate to say old school way, but like just the real deal type stuff, and
Yeah.
it just is great. And that's a great episode. And his episodes, we've had him on a few times, obviously, and it's always good.
It's
Yeah.
always so good. Every conversation I've ever had with Gary, I love having him on the show. And yeah, yeah, he's the real deal, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Great. So good.
What's he up to these days, you know?
I haven't talked to him since that time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you said that, I was like, oh, I wonder what Gary's working on right now, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something. Um, but yeah, I could ask him or ask around and see what's going on, because it's
Mm-hmm.
always worth checking in with him for sure. And he teaches
Mm-hmm.
so much too. I always love every time I ask him about how his classes are going and how his students are. And I love checking in with him about that stuff, because it's just it's like he has his finger on the pulse of all the up and comers, not all of them, right? But the ones that go to USC, which is like one of the best places to go, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there are other wonderful places to go too. But yeah, he just has a unique connection, I think, because of getting to work with those kids and then, working in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's a cool dude. What else? What else?
Next was on my list was Nicholas DeFerrin.
Yes. Scrap
Um,
writers. Yeah.
yeah, Scrap Writers, which just another case of just I really just like the music a lot in that one, and it's
Yeah.
this 80s kind of stuff, just really well put
Yeah.
together, great sounding, great feeling, you know.
Do you
Uh,
remember that? I mean, I'm sure you do, that he gave us one of my favorite things about that episode in particular is that he gave us an MP3 a song came to him while he was out walking around the streets of, I think, Paris. And he was just like, he just got out his voice memo app or whatever and recorded this song. And then we overlaid it. And I loved that. I love
yeah,
that. So that is a really cool thing
that
about that
was a really
episode.
cool moment, and also just
Hmm.
the because you could hear that voice memo and just be like, oh, that could definitely be something. But then when you overlay it,
Yeah.
it's you hear it is exactly what he
It
like
is.
recorded basically,
Yep.
with just
Yep.
his voice. He put it all together, and it's like, oh, it was all kind of there,
Yep.
and you could hear it all in his idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
So good. Yeah.
So that
What
was a good
else?
one.
Yeah. What else did you have on your
Um,
list?
the next one was another synthy one that I really just liked the music a lot. That was Rob Kovacs,
Yep.
for Stray Light.
Yep.
And that was another example of just how to do synth stuff right,
Yeah.
and really fun layering
Hmm.
of melody and stuff like that, harmonies and
Yeah.
different
It's,
parts.
yeah, you could also say how to do density right, because it's
Right,
very
exactly,
dense, but it's
exactly.
so good.
Yeah,
Easily
yeah.
one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. I listened
Hmm.
to that so much. Oh my God, I loved that soundtrack very, very much. And that episode, I love talking to Rob. He's such a nice guy and he's such a good musician. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's good to point out. Like the density thing is a good thing. Just, kind of looking at the landscape of a lot of music these days, music has just gotten so sparse and, you know, oftentimes too simple, really. Not usually
yeah,
in games,
right.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, just when people do electronic stuff, it's like, three parts or something. And just
yeah,
having all that,
yeah,
it's just like a synth orchestra,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
cool.
Super impressive. Super impressive. Yep. Yep.
The other one I had on the list was actually a two different episodes where we talked to people involved with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre games.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yep.
yeah, we talked to the CEO of Gun Interactive,
Yep. Wes
Wes
Keltner.
Keltner,
Mm-hmm.
and Ross
Ross
Tregenza.
Tregenza. Yep.
And then we talked to sound design people,
No, we just talked to Ross only exclusively
Oh,
after that. Yep.
oh,
It
was that
was
just
several
Ross?
months later. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought
Yep.
there was someone else involved with was that Ross talking about the just all those microphone techniques they were doing to capture the chainsaws and finding the
Yeah.
old like original chainsaws and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was just really fun. And also
Yeah.
just a really good, just some really fun audio stuff in there and some really fun, like legit approaches to getting good sounds and all that stuff. And
Yeah, definitely. And I loved my standalone episode with Ross as well. I love his other music, his electronica kind of industrial, his band
yeah.
Go Techie. I love his voice. I love his music. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love that dude so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I will absolutely hang out with that guy if I ever get over to the UK again, for sure, because that
Nice.
guy seems so cool. And he likes
Yeah.
cats. So, he's a good dude. He has cats. He used the cat, remember? We had those samples in that
Yeah.
episode. Yes,
That's
of his
right.
cats. Or the one
Yes.
cat. Yeah, he does. I think he has 2 or 3 cats, but the one in particular was like giving him shit one night because the cat was hungry and Ross was working. And so
Mm-hmm.
the cat was like he described it as like an angry purr kind of thing, or like a hangry purr or
Right.
something like that. I can't quite remember. And yeah, another great moment. Yeah, loved that.
Yeah, and that's seems to be, maybe I'm just imagining it, but coming up a little bit more often, the more sound designy approaches to music and stuff,
Yeah.
in a lot of things, which is like I really like that a lot, and I've gotten more into it too. But
Hmm.
where it's like the sound design and music are getting kind of blended, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that
Yeah.
so easily happens in horror too, right?
Hmm.
Which is one of my
Right,
least
right.
favorite words to say.
Horror,
Horror, like rural.
horror.
I don't like that word either. Rural. Because horror you just end up sounding like you're saying horror,
Right.
right? Horror.
Horror music.
There's a nuance there, but still horror
Yeah.
music,
Horror movies.
horror music. It's like you drag out the R. Anyway, anything else on your list?
Yes, I had a few more.
Okay.
McLean Deemer
Yep.
for Guild Wars 2,
Okay, that
which,
one. Yeah.
yeah, The Secrets of the Obscure.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was a great episode that I think was last year, where he you and
Yeah.
him got into it talking about the Korean instruments and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
which was super neat.
Yeah. It was
Then
amazing.
this next thing he did was also just really creative and interesting approaches and really
So creative. Yeah.
different sounding,
Yep.
unique, like palettes and stuff. And
Yeah.
I really appreciated that music a lot.
He's always such a great interview as well.
Yeah.
He just always says great things, and all of these people have such passion that always comes out, and I love. But yeah, he's always a fun guest. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. I also enjoyed, and we had him on a couple different times this past year because we also had him on for Firmament, which
Right.
was the one he did with the emu
Uh-huh.
synth, I think.
Yeah.
And so that was also a great time to talk to him about that for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
So
right.
interesting dude, interesting stuff.
Yep.
Then just a few more I had written down. One was Darren Korb for Hades.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just
That
because that
was, yeah.
rocked.
Yeah. And again, just a note on that. That was, an interview that happened. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I say in the intro, and that was not at all his fault for the reason that was all me. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
finally got that episode out, which was super exciting, even though the interview happened long ago. That does still count as this year because we
Mm-hmm.
just released it a few months ago. It's so good. That game. Oh, Hades 2 is coming out. Not anytime soon, but very
Yeah.
much looking forward to that. But yeah, go
And like a
on.
lot of interview shows, sometimes interviews stack up before
Oh
they
yeah.
get
Yeah.
rolled out, and so that one just slipped through the cracks somehow. But
Yeah.
the music just rocks and
It's so good. Yeah.
really badass.
Yep.
And it's nice to have some badass stuff, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
from
Yep.
time to time.
Yeah.
It's it's a little out of fashion in ways, but that was an example of good stuff.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Another one that I really liked is our, somebody we've had around for a long time, which is Jason Graves
Oh yeah.
and his new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Warzone
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Yeah.
That one in particular, I just that
Yeah.
music feels really good, and his
Mm,
kind of percussive approach,
yeah.
it just comes out loud and clear in that, where there's just this like, groove to everything, even when it's sparse. And
Yeah.
that's a good one, good soundtrack. And he's made tons of amazing stuff. you
So
know
amazing. And we
he doesn't.
determined, I think that was the 13th time I'd had him on. Not
Yeah.
level per se, but throughout us doing this sort of thing. I think it was the 13th
Hmm.
time he's been a guest, which is awesome.
Yeah.
He's also a wonderful, yeah, yeah,
Wonderful dude.
wonderful
Deserves more
dude.
credit for all the things he's done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the last one was just a couple episodes ago. Tom Salta,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
um,
Another
for the Outlast trials.
regular. Yep.
And yeah, that's another example of the kind of sound design and music stuff
Definitely.
coming together,
Yep.
and it's just fascinating stuff to listen to. I think
Yeah.
even when you detach it from the game, it's just like neat. And when if you, and I know you do, if you're a person who listens to a lot of music, stuff can get really stale and repetitive sometimes,
Hmm.
and it's like hearing people just approach things in a different way for the reasons they have to for the game and stuff, is it just breathes life into the vibes and all
Yes.
that, you
Yeah.
know.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah.
And Tom Salta
Tom
is
Salta
good.
is a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorite things about that interview was learning about his obsession with haunted houses and
Mm,
creating haunted houses. And that he's been doing that since he was like in high school, which
yeah.
was amazing to me, and how elaborately he likes to go with them. So that was also a really fun part of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, sorry, go.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
there's plenty of other episodes I could have included, and most of them are great. And if I
Yeah.
listened back through all of them, I probably have
Oh,
even
yeah.
more to say. But
Yeah.
yeah, just a lot of good stuff. And those were the ones that stood out in my memory. So
Yeah. No, that's yes, and many of those were on my list. I felt really fortunate to be able to kind of moderate a conversation between Halo composer Marty O'Donnell and the old Xbox audio mastermind, Brian Schmidt. That was a super
mm,
fun conversation, learning
mm.
about what it was like to like make Halo ship with the very first Xbox back when that happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was awesome.
That's a really unique
Yeah.
one, and just a good
Yep.
one. Yeah. Hmm.
Yep, that one was awesome. And I'm kind of going to blast through these just because,
That's okay. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and
we
it
did
gets
a
tedious, but
two-parter with Andy Rohrmann, aka Scientific, about the
uh-huh.
Oxenfree games, which I just adore those games, and I adore the soundtrack so much so that he was my number one listened to artist on Spotify this past year,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Um, and then loved having John Robert Matz on to talk about Chia,
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
of the best games of the year, hands down, and one of the best soundtracks of the year, hands down. And what a remarkable achievement that team accomplished.
Yes.
Just incredible, incredible story about the studio, and the quality of that game is just phenomenal. It's such a great game. So I
Yeah.
loved that. Um, One of the remixers we had on, which we've had a bunch of remixers on, and they're all great. Listen to all
Mm-hmm.
of them. But Stemage, Grant Henry, who's a phenomenal session guitarist. He's also a composer and remixer. And he did an album called, I think it's called Narrow Band. I can't remember right off the top of my head now, but that album is so good. And
Yeah.
I highly recommend that episode. Um, Lennie Moore on, this is
Mm-hmm.
another one of our non-game ones. He talked about his jazz album that he had done called Mentors. was awesome to talk to Lennie. I think that was like a 2 hour. There was a long conversation. I remember
Yeah.
that, and it was worth every second of it. It was like it
Yeah.
ended, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I just talked to Lennie Moore for 5 hours or whatever it was.
Right.
Um, Alchemy Early Music Ensemble talking about Pentiment.
Okay.
So much loved hearing those fine musicians talk about crafting the music for this game that takes place in like 1540 or something like that. It was
Oh
just,
yeah,
yep, you
yeah,
remember.
yes. Now
Yep,
I'm that you're bringing it back to me more. Yeah, it was like a legit
yeah.
approach to the
Oh yeah.
old.
Well, they're all like actual early music
Right,
professors, and
right,
they don't have
right.
anything to do with games. They
Yeah,
just were asked because, because
which
they're
is
legit. So,
which is super cool on the game developers side of things for them to like
oh
seek them
yeah.
out and do that. That was excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just making it as authentic as possible.
Yeah, because
Um,
musicians who do that kind of stuff, it's that kind of really niche stuff. It's like
yeah.
it's really hard for them to, you know, oftentimes to like monetize it or get attention and stuff like that because people just don't you know,
Yeah, it's definitely a
really know about it.
a little niche market.
Yeah.
But it's one worth exploring. I love, a lot of that stuff. They're really just making highly educated guesses on some of that stuff. Some stuff I think they know a lot more clearly than other things, but it's kind of like, you know, what did ancient animals look like? We're just kind of ballparking.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, but they're brilliant, and I'm not at all saying that they're making this up. I shouldn't have said anything like it, but they're that was a really, really fun conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed talking to them.
Yes.
Amos Roddy talking about Citizen Sleeper, because Citizen Sleeper, which did not come out this year, it came out last year, but I interviewed him this year. Um, Such a great, beautiful soundtrack that will
Mm.
always have a special place in my heart.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then, skipping the ones that you already mentioned, we started the year talking to, sorry, I'm trying to jot these down as I'm talking about him. And I butchered his last name, but Thomas Cipollone, who's an 8-bit composer.
Yeah.
And I love his music. I found it
Yeah.
to be so creative, just like, yeah. So that was
Yes.
our first episode of the year. And I thought that was a fitting way to start,
Hmm.
and kind of a fitting end to my list as well. Because
Yeah.
it just, the games that he writes for are games that come out on like Nintendo NES cartridges. They are manufactured that way. So he has those restrictions upon himself to write the
Hmm.
music, which is
Hmm.
super awesome. So,
Yeah,
um,
I
yeah,
remember that one well too, and that music is great because
yeah,
that people doing music like that has happened a lot since the 80s,
yeah.
and it's, sometimes good, oftentimes fun, but his stuff was just really creative and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it like pushed the genre almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If,
Yeah.
if that's the right word, but
Yeah.
just pushed that
It
sort
is a
of
genre.
8-bit
Yeah.
stuff like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um and really really worth checking out, especially if you like 8-bit music, and
Yes.
obviously
100%.
a lot of gamers do.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we literally didn't mention like 5 episodes, which in no way, shape, or form is a negative thing. They're all
No.
so good. There are wonderful things about each episode. Even I was thinking about the Chris Velasco episode that we just released, and if I look at the playlist, one of my favorite things is that there's a track called Warm Winds of Adventure, followed by a track called Maw of Faith, which just makes me laugh because it's like this dark Souls like soundtrack of his
Hmm.
next to this like Fey Farm, like cozy game that he
Yeah.
did. And I just loved that conversation with him. So, there's
Yeah.
really there's something great in in every single one. So we're
Yeah,
grateful to do
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Mhm. We won't be able to do quite this many episodes this year, as far as we
Mhm.
know. We've cut back production a bit, which I meant to mention early on, but that's okay. So we're doing bi-weekly these days.
Mhm.
Yeah, because work called.
Right. Work
Um,
calls.
Work a calls. But it's been a fantastic year. We've got so many great episodes coming up already. I can't wait to, have another year of Level. It's gonna be a good one. So thank you to
Yeah,
everybody
and
for supporting us and all of that.
I just want to say too, like just going through the past year of episodes, like, good job. And what a great eclectic group of episodes that
Yeah.
you know, it'd be easy for this show to get too repetitive, and it's just not.
Oh, yeah,
The
I
the
know,
the
right?
different characters, the different kinds of
Yep.
music, it's really a fascinating ride. So good work pulling those interviews together and doing them.
For sure. I'm always grateful for, some of those interviews came from listeners like, hey, can you check
Hmm.
this out? Some of them obviously I do find, but I get lucky and get great recommendations. So I'm always happy to take those into consideration, and um, looking forward to another awesome year because it's going to start
Hmm.
great. So at least for the podcast, it will. Let's hope it starts great for as many people as possible. So,
Yes.
all right. Well, thanks, Sam Keenan. Always happy to work with you for, oh my God, since 2011 now. It's been so,
Hmm.
so long. And yeah. All right. Check us out. Find a link to Discord. You can talk to us there. Link down in the show notes. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, of course. Check us out over on Patreon. And we appreciate you listening, and Happy New Year and happy holidays and all those wonderful things.
Ditto.